Hey guys, and welcome to the video. So, a bit of a different one for you today. So in a moment, I'm going to be cutting to an interview with one of my friends, Tanya. And Tanya is going to be talking about the slow carb diet and her experience while doing the diet. And so while you are watching the interview, notice the difference between when she talks about when she was on the diet, when she was doing the diet, and her thoughts now looking back at what she was thinking while she was doing it. So that's a very, very important point, because when people are doing diets, their focus is very, very narrow, and they're often boxed in and not thinking about why they're doing it and the repercussions in their life and often the craziness of that diet. So this is apparent when Tanya talks about doing the slow carb diet. And so I guess I'll just cut straight to the video.
So let's start by sort of asking, what made you want to do this low carb diet? What was it that drew you to it?
What was it that drew me to it? Do you know what? Being a reader, try to read like 2 books a month or whatever. I must have just come across the book on Amazon. It's called The 4-Hour Body. So it's not just that diet. There's loads of other stuff in there, like how to increase your strength by a ridiculous amount and all other bits and pieces, and obviously got to that part. And I think being inexperienced in terms of understanding how all of that works in the beginning, and just always curious. I was curious more than anything, because obviously having not done all those things like Slimming World and Weight Watchers and all that kind of thing, I was just like, oh, this seems interesting. So all I need to do is cut out carbs for 6 days. And then you're telling me that on the 7th day, I can eat whatever the hell I want. Because having calorie counted for so long, it was like, right, so all these foods I've not allowed myself to have, but all this time I can eat with zero guilt, zero restriction for like a whole day. This sounds interesting. I wonder how this is going to work.
Just because the diets told you to, or told you could? Basically, yeah. I wanted a way where I could just eat what I wanted and not feel guilty, I suppose. But I hadn't really been thinking about it or looking for a solution. It was like I read the book and that seemed good. Because for a long time, I guess, all those foods were out of bounds. But the problem is that I then found myself eating things that I wouldn't normally eat anyway. It's because, oh my God, today's the day. I've only got like 18 hours to get all of this food in. So I'm going to eat as much as I possibly can of things that I wouldn't normally go and eat, like things I don't normally eat now. Trifle. I don't normally eat trifle, but I was eating trifle then. And tell me something. Did you actually stay up longer on those days so you could eat more?
Yes. Honestly, I'm ashamed to say yes. I would get up early. I'd get up earlier in the morning so I could start eating sooner. Seriously.
Wow.
That is the thing. Yeah.
And so when you were doing this slow carb diet, what were the results you got? Like, just go through like how you felt and what happened to you in terms of physically.
Physically, I lost a lot of weight. I was skinny. Like, if I have the photos, I don't think I realised actually how much weight I'd lost from doing that. Like, even my skinny jeans were hanging off me, like on my legs and stuff. I lost so much muscle mass. It was not pretty, but I didn't realise at the time, and Lindsay never said anything. Perhaps she should have done, because it wasn't a good look. So first of all, I lost too much weight. And the problem is that affected my performance, because I couldn't train. I felt awful training.
actually. And I would say for the Monday, Tuesday, I feel okay. But then obviously as the week wore on, I don't deal well with low carb. It doesn't suit me. So why on earth I forced myself for like probably 6 months as well to do this. It was just so I could binge on a Sunday, which is crazy. So yeah, I lost a lot of weight, but it did affect my training, but it more so it affected me psychologically because it created a problem for me in terms of binging, you know. But the binging stopped as soon as I stopped the diet. It just stopped being a problem. It wasn't like I had to, you know, well, I'll say it wasn't like I had to wean myself off it, but I kind of did in a way because it took me 6 months to realise this is not healthy, you know.
Yeah. And I remember speaking to you while you were doing it, and you were like so enthusiastic and telling me how good it was. So what would you say to people that are currently doing it or thinking about doing it, that are currently in that mindset?
I would say, well, don't do it, first of all. Because it might seem like a good idea at the time, but the only reason it seemed like a good idea at the time for me is because I'd been restricting myself from all of those foods that I enjoyed, you know, because I was demonizing foods and seeing things as bad and naughty and all that sort of stuff, you know. I would say find an approach where you can still have the things that you enjoy in moderation, which is obviously what I do now, but also not kind of trying to restrict yourself from certain things, but more so working on what's going on internally as well, right? Because you can change the diet and everything, as we know, but if you don't change what's going on in your head, then that's going to be a tough one, you know? Definitely.
So you say the approach was basically because of the stuff you were doing before, and it was just another diet in the succession of not eating what you wanted to eat. So the promises of the next diet, including things that would actually satisfy you, basically, right? And still get results.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even as well, after I did that, it was like, oh, the next thing. So like, you know, like a lot of the ladies that I work with stuck in this dieting mentality. And I wasn't really even trying to lose weight, I don't think. I don't really even know what it was. Probably trying to control emotions more than anything. You know, trying to feel like I was in control by counting everything and doing all of this stuff, because you have this fear of, if I stop being on a plan, if I stop tracking everything, I'm going to lose control. I think that was the fear, because I think even after that, I was looking at other things like, you know, lean gains. Is it lean gains?
Mm-hmm.
You heard of that one? Lyle McDonald, isn't it? Is it Lyle McDonald?
I think.
Yeah. So I was even looking at that, which is like even, I think, a more extreme version of that. You know, have I answered your question? I don't know. I think when I'm
and like from what it sounds like, and this is what a lot of people say, it's from the fear of either like gaining weight if they're like at a suitable weight, or losing the progress they've made, or the fear of doing something that's not going to work, and sort of trying to do something that has these rules that kind of promises something big, and it sounds great, right? But when you start doing it, or when you then sort of relapse, it's not so great after that, is it?
Yeah. For me, the big concern was losing control and losing progress and gaining weight. And I think as well, I reflecting back to some conversations that we had, where I went back to calorie counting after that. A few like fish and chip incidents where it was kind of like still getting used to or I think it was a period where I was calorie counting and then stopped calorie counting. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm off the plan. and all hell breaks loose, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm going to go back to calorie counting in a bit, but I'm just going to have a week off. So therefore calories now don't count, which means, oh, but I'm only going to do this for a week, so I better eat as much as I can over the next week before I could then go back on the diet, if you will. And that's, again, the whole thing with calorie counting, right? Losing control.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And what I find with people is that week, then next time becomes 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then they end up not being on anything. Well, I say on anything. They shouldn't be doing a diet or a plan anyway, but they're sort of off the progress towards their goal the whole time, because that short period of time where they're off it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I have to say, I've probably never felt happier or more free from not counting calories. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because you think as fit pros, whatever we call ourselves these days, behavior change coaches, you know, you think to yourself, oh, it's okay that I'm counting calories. It's okay that I'm like this almost obsessed about what I'm putting in my mouth each day. But it's not until you stop doing it, you realize actually it's not healthy, and it's not normal either. You know, that's not how we were born.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah, like we need to get back to eating how we used to eat when we were kids, right? Where we weren't counting and weighing and tracking everything and worrying over every little morsel that goes in your mouth.
Exactly. And I've done it. I've counted calories. You counted calories. You've done that kind of eating, cycling, carbs, and what do you call it? I forgot the name of it now.
It's carb diet, yeah.
Yeah, the slow carb. That's what it's called. And being fit pros, we can fall into the trap just as easy as anyone else who's trying to lose weight. And when you're doing it, you think it's the right thing because it's kind of working in inverted commas, but like your judgment is clouded and you don't realize how much is going on here, like in terms of the stress and the precision and what that's causing to your life. And then only when you come out the other side and you find a way of eating that frees you from that precision and the dieting and the counting, you're like, whoa, like life is so different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you don't realize how much it controls your life until you're no longer doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And I think that's the biggest thing for people to realize, because you don't realize while you're doing it. And it's that, how do you have that mindset of actually freeing yourself from it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you convinced me that there was another way, to be fair. But yeah, even like Lindsay was saying how much of an impact that was having on like our relationship, and also me, the way I saw the way she was eating, because she obviously never calorie counted or anything like that, you know, and sort of saying to her, well, oh, you know, you should be counting calories and all this kind of thing. She's like, I don't want to count calories, but I would only eat certain meals and have certain things and all, you know, all that kind of stuff. And like we were saying the other day about saving calories for the nighttime binge and how that just creates binging. And I would literally just sit there and have like, oh, I've got 500 calories left, so I'll have a yogurt, but a yogurt's only maybe 200 calories, so now I'll have a cookie. Oh, I'm not quite at 500 calories yet. What else can I eat? Like, and I'd even feel like, oh, I'd have to eat the 500 calories. I couldn't leave anything spare because it's like, oh, but tomorrow the clock resets again.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose out.
Exactly. And not only is that like money of like spending on food that you don't really want, but also like the enjoyment. You're not enjoying it because you want the food. It's because the numbers tell you to eat it. So it's just going in your mouth, right?
Yeah. Total mindless eating. Or the other side of the spectrum is going hungry because you haven't got enough calories left. Like I would go hungry in the day just so that I could have my nightly binge.
and that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, like you alluded to it a few moments ago, when you're cutting out carbs for 6 days of the week, you can't be normal. You can't eat with people. You can't eat normal food. You can't go places. I've got a client that told me she doesn't go on holiday because she couldn't follow her diet plan she used to do when on holiday. It was just like, your life is like completely controlled by food. And that's why people are so desperate to lose the weight. And they're following these things, which are still creating these rules and constrain themselves. Like they're not free, right?
Yeah. You on that slow carb diet, you could barely eat out on it at all. So it just wouldn't, and that wouldn't work in many circumstances. And being vegetarian as well, because obviously it's a very protein based thing, that was even harder. So you'd end up again like eating out on the one day off like 3 or 4 times and then it gets expensive as well. So
exactly. Yeah, I'm sure your local shop was happy with all the stuff you're buying.
But like I was saying, it goes overboard, like seriously overboard with the amount of rubbish. And I actually clocked my calories for one of those days for my binge diet, and I clocked 6,500 calories. And for me, I'm 5'2", so I don't need loads of calories. So I probably ate at least 3 times the amount of food that I actually needed to eat. And you're talking like feeling in physical pain from like, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny, is it? It's ridiculous. No. Like feeling in physical pain from having eaten so much.
Exactly.
Just because binge it creates.
And one point to make, I know you're like very physically active. So for someone else following this kind of plan, it's not necessarily going to work the same. So like you said, you lost a ton of weight because you were focused on weight loss and you were doing like the movement you needed to do to get that weight off, right? So if you eat 6,000 calories while cutting out carbs for a week for 6 days, you're not necessarily going to lose weight, are you?
Well, so yeah, the point I would make there is that at that point, I was at maintenance. I was maintaining because I was also like counting calories at the same time, right? So basically, all I was doing at that point where I'd got to a weight that I was happy with, God knows why I thought I was happy with that, but I did at some point in time, right? Seemed good at the time. So yeah, basically all I was doing was I was in a 500 calorie deficit every day, and then I was just eating it all back on the Sunday. So it's just, when you think about it, it doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. So to sit and binge like so much food and feel ill because of it. Have I lost you?
No, I'm still here.
My signal's dropped out.
Oh, I'm still here.
So yeah, just to point out, at that point, I was actually at maintenance. I was like at my goal weight, if you will. But yeah, I have no idea why I wanted to get that skinny. It was crazy. So what I was actually doing at that point is I was just, because I was counting calories as well at the same time. It's like doubly crazy, right? So I was in a 500 calorie deficit every day. And then all I was doing was then eating the additional 3,000 calories back on the Sunday, right? Which would easily be about 5,000 to 6,000 calories. So yeah, someone that's trying to lose weight, that is very easy to just be at maintenance from doing that, right?
And if you think about that now, like you could have just eaten normally every single day of the week and just been relaxed around food and had a little bit of what you wanted every day and had a normal life. But the rules created this like crazy situation.
And the thing is as well, in the back of my mind, I knew that. And it's like, it was almost like, oh, but there's something magical about this diet. This diet is special.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like in my mind, I gave it like magical powers, but I knew it was just a calorie deficit. That's the thing. But and that's what people don't realize. They think it's like, oh, but no, it's something about the fact that it's low carb or it's keto or whatever, and it's like, it's just a calorie deficit, whether it's carb cycling or Weight Watchers or Slimming World or whatever. You're just eating less food, and that's, in theory, all I was doing, balanced out over the course of a whole week. Starve yourself for 6 days and then eat a ridiculous amount of food on a Sunday. And drink as well, right? That caused me to binge drink also on loads of alcohol, because it's like, oh, well, let me drink as much as I possibly can, because I'm not going to have to do this for the rest of the week. So,
crazy. Awesome. Well, let's leave it at that. That's a nice little chat about it. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bit of a different one today. And just thought I'd bring in Tanya to give you a different perspective on some kind of diet. And you can see, like, it's not just the people that don't know about diets that fall for these traps. Tanya works with people, helping them to lose weight. And this is her previous experience, her journey of learning about what does and doesn't work. And as you saw in the video, while she was doing it, she thought it was the correct thing to do. And now looking back, she's like, that's crazy. Why did I do that? So when you are doing a diet, just have this in mind, keep this in mind, that sometimes you can be very lost in what you're doing and it can take over your life. And when you actually stop doing it and go back to normal, you realize how much that took in terms of mental energy, and you really feel the freedom once you kind of do something that works for you. So while we're on the topic as well, in the description down there, I'm going to throw you a link to my free webinar on binge eating, why you binge, how you binge, and how to solve the problem. So if you would like to register for that, click down in the description below. And that is it for now. Comments, what did you think of this video? Do you, or have you ever thought about trying the slow carb diet? What are your thoughts? And yeah, likes are always welcome as always, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.